the examination despite the challenges, and to my colleagues on the board for the guidance they provided throughout the year and also the examination period. I now request the Executive Director to present the statement of release of the 2020 primary leaving examinations. Thank you for listening to me.
Mother of the Nation, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, the Honorable Ministers of State for Education, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, directors from the Ministry of Education and Sports and the Uganda National Examinations Board, senior officials from the Ministry and the UNEB, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, we are indeed pleased to present to you the results of the 2020 primary leaving examination, which was conducted smoothly on the days that our chairperson has mentioned, 30th and 31st. The theme that was adopted, Mama, was integrity and security in the management of examinations. The health and safety of the learners is a joint responsibility. Mama, this is the theme that we thought would emphasize on the sanctity of the examination process and at the same time take into account the conditions that were prevailing at the time when the children took the examination, to ensure that all of us who are involved in the exercise took this into account. Needless to say, the COVID-19 pandemic presented unprecedented challenges to the board, and indeed the Ministry of Education and Sports, the local governments, examination centers, and examinations officials in ensuring that adequate preparations were made in the conduct of the examination in accordance with the regulations governing the conduct of examinations and the standard operating procedures as issued by the Ministry of Health. Registration of the candidates. Honorable Minister, a total of 749,761 candidates from 14,300 centers or schools registered for the year 2020 P.L.E. compared to 695,804 in the previous year. Of this number, 513,085 or 68.4%, and from 11,231 schools or centers were the beneficiaries of the government's free education or the UPE, and 31.6% or 236,677 of those candidates were privately sponsored candidates. Mama, the table number 1 gives the details of the candidature which we have given for the last 5 years. From that table, there is indication that the candidature increased by 53,957 or 7.75% over the previous year. As the chairperson has mentioned, this is the highest rate of increase that we have ever recorded. And candidature in the previous year has been increasing by an average of 2.5 over the last 5 years. So this year was unprecedented in that we had more than 3 times. Of those that are registered, Mama, 353,925, or 47.2%, were boys, compared to the girls that made up 52.8%, indicating that more girls than boys completed the primary education cycle. And Mama, this has been the trend that we have seen over the last 5 years. We've been registering slightly more girls than the boys. There were also the learners that are characterized as special needs. 1,599 of these from various categories: the blind, the deaf, the physically handicapped, dyslexics, and those that were partially blind, among others, did register for the examination. And 47% of those were females, and 53% were males. In the table below, we are giving the details of the candidates who registered and those that sat for the examination over the last 5 years. The table indicates that the percentage of absentee candidates has also declined slightly compared to previous years. In 2016, we had as high as 2.7% of the children registering but not taking the examination. And this figure has gradually reduced, and this year we had 1.7%, or 12,819 who did not take the examination for various reasons. The performance of candidates by subject. We have compared the performance of candidates in the 4 subjects over the 2-year period, 2020 and 2019, in table number 3. The performance we have reported here at distinction, credit, and overall pass levels. The table, Honorable Minister, indicates that if you look at the column under 8 compared to the column in 2020 compared to the column 8 in 2019, you will see that there was an overall better performance by the candidates in the English language. The other 2, science and social studies, performance have remained quite comparable. And indeed, when you look at the distinction level for science, we are recording 10.9% of the children who are able to pass this subject with a distinction, compared to 4.9% in the previous year, showing a remarkable improvement in 2020. It is mathematics where we noticed a slight decrease. Mama will compare also the subject performance by gender. We have on one side the males and the other side the females, and we are also comparing these at the distinction, credit, and pass, overall pass level. What is seen from the table is that the girls are better in English at all the 3 levels, at distinction, credit, and overall pass. The boys then perform better than the girls in the other 3 subjects of social studies with religious education, integrated science, and mathematics. Mama, as we have reported in previous years, the candidates' performance in English and mathematics tended to be a little poorer in questions that require them to have free expression or to apply concepts that they have learned to solve problems. Where the questions were a bit more direct and based on recall, the performance has been good. This has been the case for quite some time, meaning that teachers need to do a little bit more in getting the children to be able to apply concepts that they have learned in mathematics to solve simple day-to-day problems, and to have English as functional as possible. Examiners again reported that the children exhibited very good handwriting. Organized work was also presented even when the answers were not correct, but they presented very organized work. Mama, we now present the overall performance by division, which is shown in table number 5. We see that this year, 2020, the cumulative number of candidates who passed this examination in Division 1 is 11.1. This is 1 percentage point better than 2019, and that is quite significant. The overall pass levels are quite comparable, although many people expected that perhaps the performance was not going to be good, but we can see that the percentages, the other grades are quite comparable. Where there is a small difference, those differences are not statistically significant. In terms of numbers, we have 659,910 candidates who passed the P.L.E. this year, compared to 17,150 the previous year. Overall, therefore, Mama, more children have qualified to proceed with their education to the post-primary institutions than in previous years. And the rate of increase, because of the rate of the high registration, the rate of increase is also much, much higher. And so there will be many more children for whom the ministry will have to find places in the post-primary institutions. Mama, the grading at this level is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those have passed and qualify for P.L.E. certificates. And then we have U, which is ungraded, meaning that those children who have been given that grade have not met the minimum requirements to be graded at Division 4. And we normally revise that. They go back and do the examination again. Mama, we have also compared divisional grades by funding in table 6. This is, we are comparing the candidates who went through the UPE and those that were in the non-UPE schools. Mama, these results are also similar to what we have seen before, that overall the UPE, the non-UPE children, though they are much fewer, they are less than half of the children who were in the UPE schools. Proportionally, in terms of percentages, they perform better than the UPE children. Most of the in the non-UPE schools, it should be noted that most of these study in schools that are in urban areas. Most of the UPE schools are with the people in the rural areas. And studies that UNEB has conducted through its National Assessment of Progress in Education have consistently shown that learners in schools that are located in urban areas have been achieving at higher levels of proficiency than their peers in schools that are located in the rural areas. The reasons for this have been given. There are quite a number of them, but perhaps very significant is the fact that there is a higher level of parental involvement in the learning process in the urban areas than in the rural areas. And we think that this probably is responsible for the children in these schools doing better than those in the UPE schools, where we find much less parental involvement in the children's learning. Mama, we have also presented the performance by gender. We are comparing the overall pass levels in terms of gender, and we can see that proportionally the males have performed better than the females, and they have also recorded a lower failure rate than the females. We've also shown, Mama, performance of special candidate groups. The first are the inmates. The Uganda National Examinations Board assists the government through the prison service by maintaining an examination center at Luzira Upper Prison to also try and rehabilitate the offenders who are incarcerated therein. This center this time presented 58 candidates who registered. 53 of them sat. The others either were released before they took the examination or did not take the examination for reasons that we are not aware of. Of those, we are happy to note that 5 of them passed in Division 1, 23 of them passed in Division 2, 11 in Division 3, and also 11 in Division 4, and only 3 were ungraded, and this is remarkable performance. The second group are the special needs. I had earlier on given the number of candidates who registered under this category. The category are listed in Table 8. The physically handicapped at 1, there were 45 in all, and they passed as shown, 1 in Division 1, 28 in 2, and so on. Then the blind, 2 of them passed in Division 1, 18 in 2, and so on, and 35 of them took the examination. Then the largest number were the partially blind. These are given enlarged prints, larger prints than the others. And the best performance is in this group. We also had the deaf, the dyslexics, and those who needed transcribers, those who are unable to write by themselves, and somebody has to write for them. And then there were others with different forms of disability, but they could write on their own, but their speed were affected by the nature of their disability, and the board would normally give them 45 minutes extra on each of the examinations. Their results are displayed as well. Of those that registered, which I mentioned earlier on, 20 did not appear for the examination. Honorable Minister, I will make some remark on examination malpractice. There appears to have been a lot of desperation among the teachers in some districts, maybe because of the closure of the schools for some time. They felt that perhaps their children had not learned enough. So there were many, many cases of suspected external assistance given to the candidates inside the examination rooms by third parties. Some cases were also 3 cases of impersonation, where other people other than the registered candidates were brought to write the examination for those who were registered. Security personnel also arrested some people who were vending fake papers on the eve of the examination. But unlike in 2019, the cases of fake papers were much fewer. Security also arrested some distributors in the districts of Nakasongola and the Greater Masaka areas, as my chairperson has said, who were entrusted with delivering the examination papers to the exam centers, but along the way cut the envelopes with a view to access the contents. These will be prosecuted in accordance with the UNEB Act, and those who are teachers will also be subjected to the Teachers' Code of Conduct. Mama, in accordance with Section 5, subsection 2B of the UNEB Act number 1, 2021, the board will withhold results of these candidates, 2,220, pending completion of investigations. The largest number of withheld results are from the districts in the Rwenzori region, especially in the districts of Bunibujo and Kasese. Schools whose results are withheld will be notified through their district inspectors of schools. And all those whose results have been withheld, as usual, will be accorded a fair hearing by the board's examination security committee, and after the hearings are concluded, the board will publish in the media the list of schools and the districts from which results will have been cancelled. Mama, as is our practice, we give a feedback to our stakeholders through a document called the Report on the Work of Candidates. This report is compiled using observations of our examiners, where the candidates had weaknesses and strengths, and advice given to the teachers on how they can improve on the weak areas. And we always request, Mama, that the stakeholders, particularly the teachers, use this report because it is very rich and can help a lot in improving the teaching learning process. Mama, I also want to join my chairperson in thanking you so sincerely for the support that we have received from you. That ensured that we obtained the necessary funds to run the examination during this very difficult time. I must also add Parliament for approving the supplementary, and the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development for giving us the money, as our chairperson has already said. I would also like to thank our permanent secretary. He has been very keen on the work we do and has been very readily available to me to consult during this period anytime that I have needed him. I thank him. I thank the chairperson and members of the board for their guidance. I thank the district leaders, the chief administrative officers, the district and urban education officials, the monitors, the scouts, and the invigilators for their cooperation and support during the management of the 2020 P.L.E. Mama, I wish in a very special way to appreciate the staff of the Uganda National Examinations Board Secretariat. When the future looked very bleak with a lot of uncertainties, when our personal safety was at great risk, Mama, our determination to deliver these results remained undaunted and actually rose each time we faced any new COVID-19 related challenges. We dedicated each activity and each day in prayer in the firm belief that with God, nothing is impossible. I also want to thank the heads of the security in the country for giving us their personnel that helped us greatly. The police, the military police, were of very great assistance in ensuring that the examinations were smoothly transported, taken, and marked. I also thank the media, and I want to congratulate all the candidates who have passed, the teachers who have prepared them, and the parents and the guardians for their support. Finally, Mama, allow me to thank the institutions that allowed UNEB to use their premises and facilities to mark the P.L.E, despite the fact that this marking exercise caused an alteration in their school program. Collection of results. Honorable Minister, these results are going to be uploaded on the examination center portals as soon as you declare them released. Each school can therefore download the results as soon as they are officially released by you. However, when conditions allow, UNEB will inform the inspectors, the district and the municipal and city inspectors of schools to collect the hard copies of results from UNEB offices at Ntinda. Currently, no copies are available. Parents and candidates and any other interested parties may also use the SMS on the mobile networks, which will post these results on their mobile sets instantly. Mama, we wish to warn schools against collecting candidates together to celebrate results, as usually been in the past, because this act is likely to spread the virus. Instead, parents and candidates themselves can use the short message service, which I have already mentioned. A request has been received, Mama, from the district inspectors of schools to be able to access the results of their districts electronically. That request has just been received, and our IT team will see how this is possible to enable them to access results of schools in their districts. We have given out the instructions on how to get these results by SMS. As usual, they go to their phones, the message menu, and please type P.L.E, then leave a space. Then type the full index number of the candidate, and then you send to 6600. Mistakes are usually made by parents and other people wanting to access results when they do not leave space between P.L.E and also when they do not put in the correct numbers of the candidates. If they do this correctly, these results will be available instantly. Mom, I want once again to thank you very sincerely for your efforts, and also my colleagues from the Ministry of Education and Sports and Uganda National Examinations Board. I submit, Mama.
Can we put our hands together and once again appreciate the board and the secretariat for the great work they have done that has given us a smile on a rainy day. Thank you so much, UNEB. Ma'am, I would like to ask you to allow me to also ask the team that is with me here to appreciate you and all the people that Mr. Odong read who participated to ensure that we can release these results today. So let's put our hands together and thank them. Mama, before you come to speak, I would like to request the Minister of State for Primary Education, Honorable Dr. Kaduchu Moriku, to come and you come. She is going to come, and before she invites you to speak to us, she definitely will greet us, but also she will allow the chairperson of UNEB to now officially hand over the results to you, so that when you come over to give us your remarks, you can also release the results. You are most welcome. So chairperson, you can first come.
Honorable Minister, Mama Janet Museveni, on behalf of the board and the Secretariat of UNEB, I stand here to present to you the results of the Primary Living Examination 2020. But unlike in the past years, When I do this physically, conditions dictate that I do it remotely. The book containing the results have been placed before you, and I now wish to request you to release those results to the public for use. Thank you.
These are the results. Okay. Okay.
The First Lady and the Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, the Honorable Ministers of State for Education and Sports, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, the Chairperson and members of Board, Uganda National Examination Board, the Executive Director of Uganda National Examinations Board, senior members of staff of the Ministry of Education and Sports, senior members of staff of UNEP, media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are celebrating a great milestone registered in the history of our motherland, Uganda, during COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the global challenge of COVID-19 that has disrupted learning activities, we are witnessing an extraordinary performance shown by our brilliant Ugandan children. Honorable Minister and Mama, we are celebrating the little heroes who have demonstrated that learning did not stop with the closure of schools. However, they have shown great determination and focus in their studies while striving for excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, this outstanding performance was possible due to the leadership of the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports. Her leadership has built a solid team at Uganda National Examination Board. Her leadership has set a strong system at UNEP, even that can detect examination malpractices. We are indeed grateful for your leadership, Honorable Minister and Mama, for the numerous initiatives that you brought on board during the pandemic that kept our children academically active while at home. As a result, ladies and gentlemen, we in the education sector walk with our heads high up. The sky is the limit for our children as we build and secure their future to become resourceful citizens of this country. The Bible says, "Let your light shine so that men may see the good works you do and give glory to God." Ladies and gentlemen, today we are giving glory to God because of the firm foundation Mama Janet has laid in the education sector. I therefore wish to appeal to all education fraternity. Let's keep our light always shining. Last but not least, I congratulate all P7 candidates, teachers, parents, and all stakeholders for the commendable achievement registered through their resilience and determination. Mama, as I conclude, I would like to appeal once again to all school administrators and children against violating the COVID-19 pandemic SOPs by staging celebrations. Excitements and celebrations can easily expose our children to COVID-19 deadly infection. With your permission, Mama, if possible, let there be no celebration at all costs at all. I'll now take this honor to invite the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sport to address the nation, as already she has officially released the P.L.E results for 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put hands together and stand up to welcome the Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kaduchu. Thank you, our members of the education family. Thank you, all of you. My colleagues, the Honorable Ministers of State, the PS for Education and technical team from the Ministry of Education and Sports, the chairperson of UNEB, Professor Kwakor, the executive director, UNEB, Mr. Odong, and your team, the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today brings us another opportunity to celebrate the realization of hope by parents and guardians for the 736,942 children of a young age that sat their primary living examinations for the year 2020. As all of you may know, this cohort of candidates sat their P.L.E in this year, 2021, instead of 2020, due to the unusual circumstances beyond our control orchestrated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, today is yet another opportunity. It is a day to thank God, as my colleagues have said before me. It is a day to thank God who has been faithful, really faithful, as he carried these young people and all of us as the education sector and our whole nation through a very unusual season that we have been going through. A time when the hope of many had waned with the fear that the candidates would forego the year 2020. It is for this reason that this moment is not a mere occasion for releasing of results, which we have done every year in the past, but we are celebrating hope. Hope achieved by those who did not give up. So I extend a special thank you to the team at UNEB your field personnel, the security, and district local governments that helped in executing this assignment of P.L.E. 2020. It is not an assignment that we could do alone as a ministry. We had to work together as government, as others pitched in to help UNEB to do their work. I also take this opportunity to recognize the great effort of sacrifice by our frontline people, that is the teachers. The teachers are our frontline soldiers who had to take these pupils through the remedial classes to get them ready for their P.L.E. And I must thank the parents, the guardians, for not losing hope, but for choosing to stand with their children as they journeyed through an unusual season that neither nor they have been through before. What you did, parents, what you parents did preparing these children surely contributed to the noted improvement in performance, as you heard from UNEB, and even better performance in some subjects in the 2020 P.L.E. To our young people who are watching or listening to this event from afar, what you're witnessing today as an achievement by your peers is evidence of perseverance. These circumstances in which the 2020 P.L.E. were set are not something any government around the world or parent or learner could have predicted and prepared for. But each person who had a stake and role to play in this cycle of P.L.E. put in what they knew best to do within their means, and they did it. Perseverance only comes when one has the hope that what they are focused on to achieve is possible in spite of the circumstances around them. Hope is stirred up when we appreciate that the goal ahead is bigger and better than the situation one may be in. It is the anticipated joy of reaching that goal that one is hoping for that truly inspires them to persevere, not to tire or to give up. So to our young people and adults out there, make a stand and choose not to give up on your goals because of the inconveniences you are feeling now, you are meeting now, either because of closure of schools or disruption of livelihood or even the grief of losing the loved ones. However, when we lose the hope that we can reach our goals, not only do we despair, but we also fail to prepare for life that will be after the bad situation is normal. It is the hope in one that COVID-19 shall not be forever here. It will not be here forever. That's what inspires us to prepare and be ready for the season after this pandemic. For surely that season will come, because this pandemic must surely end at some stage. For instance, the achievement of completing 2020 P.L.E. cannot be taken away from those who have accomplished this goal. And by completing their P.L.E., they become ready for the next level of their education pursuit, no matter how long COVID-19 stays. Since the President announced the first closure of education institutions of learning on the 20th of March 2020. As a sector, we have also been taking time to learn on how better to deliver our services in the present circumstances and post-COVID-19. That said, we are cognizant of the fact that sometimes what is preferred is not affordable in the now. For example, we do appreciate the role digital learning platforms play in delivery of formal education during school closures. It has worked in a handful of urban international and private schools here and been utilized widely in developed countries. However, given other equally important priorities of the state, it is not within our means to deliver internet to all the 15,423 primary schools and an electronic gadget to each of the 10.8 million learners in these schools. So, most of the learners that completed P.L.E. for the primary 7 class of 2020 did benefit largely from the home study materials we heavily invested in, with supplemented lessons through radio and television broadcasts in regions where such services were in reach. This is where I urge parents and guardians, local councils and district local governments to do the best job you know how to do when it comes to ensuring that when these home study materials are supplied to your districts by the Ministry of Education, please ensure that they reach the intended beneficiaries in their homes, because those children only have hope in these materials if they can continue to do some work even as they wait for COVID-19 to pass. When I looked at the results for the 2020 P.L.E. release, I observed that the number of registered candidates increased by 7.75% in 2020, by almost 54,000 compared with a 2.25% average increase in registration over the previous 5 years. This is indeed a milestone we thank God for, bearing in mind the unusual circumstances of 2020 P.L.E. registration when it was done. Sadly, 12,819 registered candidates were not able to show up for the exams. Now, whereas the rate of absentee candidates has been on the decrease from 2.7% on registered candidates in 2016 to 1.7% in 2020, our education system needs to account for this category of learners who register but never do the exams. This is where we need the help from the parents, because we must track these children who register because they want to do exams but never get to do them. UNEB, I pray, will provide now the breakdown of these absentee candidates to each local government and let the education officers follow up to establish what happened to these learners. It is important not just to the Ministry of Education as a sector, it is important for the government, it is important for the country to know what happens to children like these. This phenomenon of absentee candidates should remind us of the critical role parents and guardians play in continuity of learning of their children. Parents are there to provide basic needs for their children, counsel, encourage, and inspire them to reach what they hope for in life. I call upon parents and guardians that your children need to hear words of hope from you to encourage them in the current season the world is going through. I want the parents to know that their support for their children and their love for them can only come from them as parents. These children can find support elsewhere, can even find love from others, but it's not the same as when it comes from the parents, especially in a season like this one that we're going through. Therefore, I say utilize this time, parents, when the children are at home, to strengthen bonding with them. Do not let your child be raised by the winds of social media and bad company. I did note the continuous improvement in girls' attendance, and over the years, the girls are becoming better by the year. And we thank God for that. We are aware of the unique toll school closures have had on the girl child. But to see that they are doing better at school and in these exams, it's an encouragement to us as a nation. Again, I want to challenge each parent watching and listening to me today. Let us make our homes places of safety and refuge for our children. It is shameful that a home should be the most unsafe place for any child. It is a shame to see children running away from their homes where their parents live, a place which should be a safe haven for them. To see the children running away from them, it is really a shame that we must fight against as a nation. When children experience safety in the home, they grow in their hope and certainty of the future. I note that the number of learners who have qualified for post-primary education has increased this year by a much larger percentage than before. Government, working with the private providers of education, will ensure that all the learners are placed in secondary schools and the post-primary vocational institutions. It is, however, disturbing to note that some of our education stakeholders, including teachers, are still not heeding our call to desist from the evil practice of cheating in examinations. I have also noted that some schools and districts are perennially known for cheating examinations for their candidates, year after year. This type of corruption must be put to an end. It is my prayer and hope that when investigations are completed, those culpable will be subjected to the penalties prescribed in the law, and UNEB shall name and shame such schools and districts, and the whole nation will get to know of these schools. I am happy that the UNEB Act was amended, thereby giving the board more functions and powers. The sanctions are much more deterrent than in the repealed law, as you heard the chairperson for the board say. I urge UNEB, therefore, to widely disseminate this amended law through your website as well as the ministries. Let me conclude now by congratulating the candidates that successfully completed Primary 7 by passing the 2020 P.L.E. Once again, I appreciate the parents, the guardians, the teachers, among others, who made it possible despite the difficulties brought by COVID-19 pandemic. For those who were not successful with P.L.E., as you've heard from my colleague, I encourage you not to lose hope. And we say this all the time, please don't lose hope. Try again Do not give up the focus of achieving your goals. Give it another try. Regarding the selection exercise for Senior 1, the details shall be communicated to you in due course, but not before the lockdown has been lifted. Keep safe by observing the SOPs for COVID-19 as communicated by the Ministry of Health. And I'd like to say something about medical students here also. I know that the medical students are in need to go back to their institutions of learning. But I want you to know that we're discussing your request, we are looking at everything, and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. But I can't say now that you will go back at this time. But please know, we are discussing this as a government, and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. It is now my pleasure to release the 2020 P.L.E. examination results to the public, and I thank you all, and God bless you. And I have already shown you the results. Here again are the results, P.L.E. 2020.
Can we clap more?
God bless you all. God bless Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mama, for those great words. The challenge you have left with us as parents and grandparents and families, and I'm sure that we have all heard. Can we now stand up and sing the anthems in the reverse? And after the anthems, we shall have the press opportunity, so we'll stay here for that. But let's sing the anthems. Very much, Mama. You can take your seat.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This week's expression sounds unpleasant and also dangerous.